The course and exam description goes through the information that is in the new AP curriculum, and it breaks it down into 6 big ideas. So those ideas are structure of matter, properties of matter, chemical reactions, and that includes electrochemistry, and then pretty familiar topics, rates of reaction, thermodynamics, and equilibrium. Each of these ideas is broken down into several levels: enduring understandings and then essential knowledge. Now those 2 ideas will cover topics that you would normally teach, and then also there is another one called science practices, and the science practices are several ideas that don't exactly match any particular curriculum, any particular content. It could be things like, using representations to represent things, use mathematics, use graphs. And those are linked up with essential knowledge, and then you come up with a learning objective. So for example here, there's a learning objective, for your essential knowledge, and if it's linked up with the science practice, which is students can work with scientific explanations and theories, and sub-idea from that is justify claims with evidence, then you can come up with a learning objective that the student can justify the observation that the ratio of the masses of constituent elements in any pure sample of that compound is always identical on the basis of the atomic molecular theory. That is, the law of definite composition. So the learning objectives are very, very, very important ideas. We call them the LOs, because each question that's on the AP exam is based on a learning objective. So if you're ever confused about, well, will there be a question about this or a question that, just look at all the learning objectives, and those are going to be defining what the questions are. Now, as they go through the essential knowledge, there are also places where some information has been taken out of the AP curriculum, and those are called the exclusion statements. Now, an exclusion statement has a kind of comment here like a memorization of the exceptions to the opt-out principle is beyond the scope of this course and the AP exam. They all have finished with that kind of wording. So they're saying here that we used to teach things like silver and copper, that they would you would expect it to be S2, like 4S2 3D9, and that would have been copper. But it turns out that's not the way, that's how it's following the rules, but it really is 4S1 3D10. So having students memorize those, that's what we used to do, but now they're saying that the mere rote recall of the exceptions does not match the goals of the curriculum revision. However, it says, if given an exception on the AP exam, students will be responsible for providing possible reasons for the exceptions based on the theory. So what I read that as is that, even though you're not going to have students memorize the exceptions, they better come across those exceptions and maybe, why they happen during the course, because it could show up on the exam. Now, at the end of this in the curriculum framework, now also you realize that this is part of your workshop materials. You can also buy the book, as a separate document, or you can get it as a PDF file and download it. And that's what I do. I have that on my iPad in my iBooks. But at the end of this section where it goes through the 6 big ideas, then there's an appendix, which I find really useful, and it's the AP concepts at a glance. And you can see it has each enduring understanding and then all the essential knowledge that goes with each of those enduring understandings. So some of the big ideas, here's big idea 1, goes through and takes maybe 2 pages to list all the enduring understandings and essential knowledge, and some of the big ideas only take 1 page. Then after that is another list, another appendix, and that's one where it takes each and it shows every learning objective, and there's over 100 of them. So those are very useful shortcut, appendices, so you can get everything kind of in one glance. Now, if I read one of these and I don't quite understand what it's saying, I can go back and look at it in context of the whole discussion beforehand, because then it gives examples and it makes a lot more sense.